Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into something a little unconventional. It's philosopher John Gray's guide to living a less anxious life. And his inspiration? Well, it's the true masters of contentment, cats.
So let's start with a question that really gets to the core of this whole feline philosophy. I mean, think about it. Why do we spend our entire lives searching for some grand meaning while a cat seems to find it just by lying in a sunbeam?
All right, so before we can get to the solution, we've got to understand the problem. And according to Gray, the problem is buried deep within the human condition itself.
So Gray basically frames our greatest gift, our consciousness, as our biggest curse. He even compares it to that biblical forbidden fruit. It's like this snake's gift that made us ashamed of our own nature and, kicked us right out of the paradise of just being.
And here's the result of that curse. This fracture. Our self-awareness makes us build these fragile egos based on our jobs, our opinions, what we post online, creating a soul that Gray says is full of cracks. A cat, though, it's totally whole. He describes it as hermetic, completely sealed off, this solid monolith of calm. Why? Because it's not trying to be anything other than what it is.
So, what's the antidote to this whole human curse? Well, according to Gray, it's this totally unlikely philosophical guide, the cat. A true anarchist of being, if you will.
And here we see a really crucial difference. We humans, we're ruled by the clock, right? We're always living in this abstract and, frankly, often scary future. But cats, they exist in what he calls the eternal now. They don't have some life script they're following or a fear of death because for them, death isn't even a real concept. It has no power over them.
And that leads to their whole ethical framework. Cats practice something Gray calls impersonal egoism. Now, they're egoists, sure, because they care for themselves, but it's impersonal because they don't have a self-image to protect. They're never trying to be cool or good or some kind of savior. They just exist, completely unfiltered.
Okay, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the practical advice from Gray's 10 Commandments. We'll start with the ones that are all about helping us master the present moment.
All right, commandment number 2. This one directly challenges one of our biggest modern anxieties, time.
You know how we are. We treat time like this resource that has to be managed, which just creates constant stress. For a cat, though, time is just this endless flow. Complaining about not having enough of it would be like complaining about existence itself. I mean, a cat would find that completely absurd. Okay, commandment number 3 is a tough one for us humans. We are obsessed with finding lessons in our pain. And this ties directly into another commandment, number 6, which says, life is not a story. See, we try to fit our suffering into some grand narrative, to justify it as a test or part of our destiny. But for a cat, pain is just pain. It's an experience to be avoided or endured, not some cryptic text from the universe that needs decoding.
Now for commandment number 5, and this one completely flips our biggest life goal right on its head. We treat happiness like something we have to achieve, right? This artificial goal we chase like a laser pointer dot on the wall. But for a cat, happiness isn't a goal at all. It's just the default state they return to. Once the threats are gone and they're comfortable, boom, they're content. The lesson? Stop chasing it, and you might actually find it.
Commandment number 8 is about sleep, and it actually connects to number 7, do not be afraid of the dark. For us, sleep and the nighttime are often just functional, right? A way to recharge so we can be productive. But for a cat, they are ends in themselves. Sleep is a peak experience of pure bliss, and the dark, well, that holds its own interesting discoveries.
Okay, let's switch gears and move to the next set of commandments, the ones that focus on how we relate to other people. And the foundation for all of this is actually commandment number 1, do not try to convince human beings to be rational. Think about it. A cat never wastes energy trying to change the fundamental nature of another creature.
So, building on that, commandment number 4 dives right into the messy world of love and obligation with a pretty radical idea.
Gray argues that human love is often this
toxic mess, a tangle of pride, cruelty, guilt, and pity. It's a mechanism we use to fill the existential holes in our fractured souls. A cat's love, on the other hand, is totally pure. They feel zero duty. So if a cat is near you, that's actually a higher form of a relationship because you know it's completely voluntary and sincere.
And that brings us to commandment number 9, which is a warning against looking for saviors outside of ourselves. Since cats don't have that sense of inner emptiness, those existential holes, they have absolutely no need for ideologies or gurus or anyone promising to make them feel whole. They already are.
This brings us to the final and maybe the most liberating piece of feline wisdom from John Gray.
Okay, so commandment number 10 offers this surprising release. After hearing all this, what if you just can't do it? What if this whole feline Zen thing is just beyond your reach? Well, Gray's advice is simple. Don't worry about it. Just go back to the familiar human world of distraction and self-delusion. But, and this is the key, do it without remorse. The awareness itself is the real lesson.
And we'll end on this thought. Maybe the goal isn't really to become a cat. Maybe it's just to learn from them that the greatest wisdom isn't about finding the meaning of life, but learning to live so fully in the moment that the question itself just disappears.